Hi friends, welcome back to our online Bible study in the book of Acts. Do you ever feel like you don't have your feet quite underneath you? I mean, even if you feel pretty mature, even if you're experienced in a lot of areas in your life, do you ever feel like your feet just aren't quite underneath you, that the ground's a little bit shaky? I often feel that way. And what we read here in the 17th chapter of Acts helps me to understand why I sometimes feel that way, and helps me to understand some things that I can do to get on more of a firm foundation. Okay, so here's an overview. We're reading chapter 17, verses 1 through 15 today. It's two stories. First, you've got Paul and Silas in Thessalonica, and then you've got Paul and Silas in Berea. Similar stories. This is going to be important for tomorrow that we see this right here. Both locations, when they show up, they teach in the synagogues. They're talking to the Jews, their brother and sister Jews, trying to help them to understand who Jesus is, that he's the Messiah they've been waiting for, all of those things. These are religious folks that they're trying to help see that God's doing something new within the context of their religion. In both cases, there is a mixed response. Some people are on board, some people are not. And for a couple of different reasons, when you read it, you'll see the different reasons, they get driven out of town. That's kind of broadly what's happening here. And it's a reminder of one of our overarching themes, and that is that these folks are just being asked by God to be faithful. And sometimes their faithfulness bears a lot of fruit, good things. And sometimes it doesn't. But they're held responsible for just being faithful and trusting God with the results. Same thing for us. We're just responsible for being faithful and trusting God with the results. But there's one thing in here that I want to make sure that we see. I actually almost started our whole series this school year in Cornerstone with this verse. I ended up going with Romans 12:2 instead, but I love this right here. So you've got a group of people who are very upset about what Paul and Silas are doing. Paul and Silas are staying with Jason, a guy named Jason, and they show up at Jason's house, and this is what they say about Paul and Silas. These men who have turned the world upside down have come here also. So their reputation precedes them. And their reputation is that they're turning the world upside down. Wherever they go, they're causing chaos. Whenever they go, there are things that are happening. They're doing things, they're teaching things that people don't understand, and it's causing chaos all around them. They're turning the world upside down. And of course, that is exactly what happens when we come into a deeper, a more robust, when we come into an understanding of who God is through Jesus. It messes things up. It turns the world seemingly upside down. The reason that Paul and Silas are turning the world upside down is because that when they met Jesus, it turned their lives upside down. When they met Jesus, it changed the way that they understood things. Amy and I were watching a show years ago called New Girl, and I remember this one episode where there's this character and two of his friends start dating. And the girl in their relationship is like a supermodel or a model, and the guy is someone who you would never think would date a model. And it just blows this guy's mind that these two are dating. And he says, I don't understand anything about the world. And he's driving, and he drives through a stop sign. And he says, I don't know, that used to be a stop sign. Maybe it's a go sign. I don't understand anything anymore. When these people come to know who Jesus is, it reorients the way that they understand everything. It's like the world is upside down. And one of the main things is this. They said that the one and Jason's received them, and they're all acting against the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, Jesus. One of the things that's upside down is that the rest of the world views Caesar as king, but Paul and Silas and those other people that are following them, they think that this guy Jesus, who's put to death on a cross that they believe is somehow alive, they think that he's the king. What an upside down way to see the world. And yet for so many of us, that's turned out to be true. As crazy as it sounds, that when we have started living a life where we're orienting our life around the belief that Jesus is actually alive, the idea that we can actually be in relationship with God through prayer and through reading Scripture, that it turns our lives upside down, that things change for us. It seems crazy, but yet many of us have experienced it. Dallas Willard talks about it's as if there's a plane that's flying, and it doesn't realize that it's flying upside down. So when it pulls on its controls to try to go up to gain altitude, it actually crashes down into the ground. What Willard suggests is that it's actually not those of us who have faith in Jesus who are flying upside down, that we're actually flying right side up. And that what happens when we get a gospel, a Jesus-oriented way of seeing the world, is that it flips the world right side up and the world actually begins to make more sense. We understand ourselves better, we understand other people better, we understand God better. That when you just pull on the control handles that the rest of the world has for us, if we're flying upside down, we try to right ourselves and it just makes things worse. But when we get into right relationship with God, when we begin to see the world the way that Jesus sees the world, we begin to live in the world the way that Jesus lives in the world, we begin to get our feet underneath us. We begin to understand the way the world actually works better. We begin to get more secure in our relationships and our self-image, our understanding of ourselves. And God is able to work in us from the inside out. So let me just ask you, in what way are you perhaps flying upside down? In what way are you just living the way that everybody else is living? And might it be that when it comes to the way that you see this relationship, when it comes to the way that you see yourself, when it comes to the way that you understand your purpose in life, then maybe it's time to begin seeing those things through the lens of your faith, through studying the Scripture, through praying. Then perhaps that will help you to find that footing that you're so desperately looking for. Perhaps that will help you to get your life flipped back, right side up, even if at the beginning it feels disorienting, like you're upside down. God bless you, friends. Keep with your reading. I'm going to be with you tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to see that Paul and Silas's mission begins to change a little bit. I'll see you then. God bless you, friends.